We're at the 2014 MUFON Symposium in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. They've had a great turnout, and we talked to some of the MUFON leadership about the importance of having a symposium in the eastern United States.
We got a lot of positive feedback and asking us when we could come back to the East Coast. Terrific turnout. We had people coming from all the states surrounding Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, Vermont, West Virginia.
People have been hungry for it. The conference seems to be the symposium always on the West Coast, western half of the country. So it was very important to bring it here.
We had a great attendance. We had almost 700 people here at the Cherry Hill Crown Plaza. People were enthused. I liked the energy level. Folks were very much into the speakers and hearing what they had to say and just networking with all the folks that were here.
It resulted in a large increase in new members to MUFON in the Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey area. And I think it's going to help in the future as far as membership to our state and smaller conferences. I think it's going to turn into one of the better symposiums that MUFON has had.
The theme at this year's symposium is Media and UFOs. We talked to some of the speakers about their ideas regarding whether there's a cover-up when it comes to UFOs and the media.
It's a very hot topic. Everyone wants to do a UFO show. When it comes to news, I think that's a bit different. They treat it still as this novelty item. I just think that the people who believe that there's an actual deliberate effort to keep UFO stories off the air should just turn on cable TV and see what's on there. I mean, it's all over there.
I think there is censorship, but I think it's subtle. It's not a direct, the government tells your network boss and he tells you don't cover it. It's more a self-imposed censorship. The fact that people in my line of work choose not to cover this topic, they figure that it's going to be bad for their careers, that people would make fun of them. I think the assumption is incorrect. I think it's wrong. How they size up the level of public interest is wrong. And I think their guesses about how the public would react to UFO news coverage is also wrong. So instead of a government censor, it's more from within the journalism community.
I don't necessarily think that it's a big conspiracy. I think it's more like this is a policy that was adopted in the early 50s that just stuck. And so now everyone has this instant knee-jerk response with UFOs in the media that it's just, there's nothing to it. It's all silly nonsense.
You'd either have to wait for that annual timing at the end of October, the holiday known as Halloween, when they'd be begging you for any kind of a scary story. They didn't care if it was a haunted house or a UFO. Scare the audience in that last week, you know, it's for the ratings kind of a thing. But in general, most editors that I remember that I worked with in mainstream, absolutely no interest in UFOs whatsoever.
I've been accused of having to go all the way up as high as Arianna Huffington to get her okay for me to write certain stories. And no, that's not what happens. It's not the way it works. That's not the way Huffington Post works.
It's not that they encourage, necessarily embrace UFOs or coverage of that kind of subject matter. It's more that they defer to me because they know I've been around a long time. I'm not going to do something to embarrass them. I generally approach these stories like I would any other story. I try to be careful and cover my bases and get good supporting material. Still, even at my station, there's still a measure of the same kind of reaction. You put the UFO story at the end of the newscast alongside the water skiing squirrel or some goofy feature, and you kind of laugh about it. Oh, that still happens, even at KLAS TV. But I think because we've covered it so intently for so long, the people who work with me and respect me to a certain extent tolerate it more than maybe other stations. The other stations in Las Vegas, I think, are far less friendly because it's a competitive thing. If I'm for it, they've got to be against it.
National Geographic, they didn't give a flying rat's ass on any good substance at all. It was all fluff. And I thought it was going to be like 10% fluff and 90% substance, or 20% fluff, 80% substance, and it was 90% fluff and 10% substance. Really unfortunate. And there were so many wonderful aspects of each case that I presented to them with evidence, with hard evidence that we could have, you know, done some more analysis with, and they didn't care. So do you want to call that censorship? Not censorship. They just didn't care. All they wanted was the ratings. They didn't care if it was true or not true, and they probably thought it wasn't true.
I've had people accuse me of either being censored or being told what I can and cannot write about when it comes to UFOs. That must mean I'm striking a nerve somewhere, and to me, that's a good thing.
I've almost wished that there would be the knock on the door sometime, because it would tell me you're on the right path. The fact that there hasn't been a knock at the door or somebody warning me to back off tells me, number one, either I'm doing what they want done or they just don't care. But nobody's ever told me, no, you can't. What they have done is they've tapped my phone, they've looked at my online stuff, they've followed me around, they've followed other people around, they've threatened people who have offered to give me information, but they've never threatened me and never tried to shut me down that I know of.
Often people leave the MUFON Symposium with a renewed sense of purpose and an optimistic outlook on the future of the organization.
I'm really excited about the direction that MUFON is taking now. They have had over the years some difficulties in organization and struggling with funding, but I think they're coming up to date. They're becoming 21st century. They're reaching out now in ways that I think needs to be done, especially in the internet and reporting, and kind of taking this excitement and fascination people have in the pop culture and saying, look, we're the real organization that investigates this type of thing. And I think that public outreach is really going to help.
Another great MUFON Symposium comes to a close. For Open Minds, I'm Alejandro Rojas.